Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday night. Welcome to the Black Cat Lounge. I'm so thrilled that you guys stopped in tonight and you're spending a great Tuesday night with me. I got to tell you what, guys, I am so thrilled. You know what? I have 1,001 things I want to talk about, but I got a little couple things to talk, to speak about, and then I'm going to bring on our guest. I can't wait to talk about our guest, and we're going to talk about triangles tonight. You know, a lot of people, the only triangle they know is the Bermuda Triangle, and then there's like the the uh, uh, the Grider and Bailey Triangle in Buffalo, New York. But we're not definitely going to go there tonight. We'll talk about that some other night when we all have bulletproof vests on. Anyway, I want to go and just ask everybody to say a couple prayers and send some healing out for a good friend of mine uh, locally who has come down with COVID, and it really has knocked him on his ass pretty good. So just send it out there. You guys don't have to know his name. Just got to understand that healing will go where healing has to go. So I appreciate when you guys, if you guys take the time to do that. Also, I want to thank everybody for all the kind compliments that you guys gave me for the work that I did on Portals to Hell. That was unexpected. Thank you so much. I was humbled by them. Portals to Hell, we filmed last February, just before the world shut down, and they flew me to Flagstaff, Arizona, sequestered me in a Best Western, which is always an interest. putting me to my own, leaving me to my own devices, that can be how can I explain it? That could be dangerous. But I actually, we had a great time. We went to the Hotel Monte Vista. I worked with my friend Katrina Weedman, met Jack Osborne. Jack Osborne was a fantastic person. It was a great experience, really a great experience on there. So thank you for everybody that watched it. Unfortunately, it's on Discovery Plus. I swore I'd never get Discovery Plus, but my lovely wife, Nancy, who is a financial genius, she figured out a way to strip away a lot of the extra stuff on our cable network and add that in. So that was a lot of fun. But really, Portals to Hell was a great experience. I have to say it's probably one of my best experiences on TV. And I think it was more of a challenge because of the fact that they put you in a hotel not close to where you're investigating, and I had no clue. Where I am. Of course, in the Buffalo area, I have no clue where I am anyway. But that was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. So thank you everybody for thinking of taking the time and thinking that it was a great show. So I appreciate that. Also, we have some new sponsors. They'll be on our docket on our commercial next month or next week. They are none other than Frank and Tony from Buffalo Phantom Hunters, and they're really great people, and they do a fantastic job at a place called Lockport 647. I believe they have public investigations once a month there in Lockport, New York. And if anybody wants any more information, just hit me up, or you can check out. I'll be posting whenever their investigations are pertinent. So that's going to be great. Also, Mrs. Shaw and I are actually going to we're going to finish up our series on our vaccinations soon, so that we're able to travel a little bit more than we have been, which is like almost nowhere. So I'm looking forward to that and getting back out there in the world. And it's strange to say that, isn't it? But yeah, it is. I've missed everybody. And you know who I got to tell you, our guest tonight is fantastic. And I met her down in Chicago. We were at the Chicago Paracon, and it was just a great experience meeting her. She's talented. And you know what? I have got to go, and I've got to actually read. I actually have Cheryl Lynn Carter notes here. I don't fool around. I need these notes because she is multifaceted. I mean, she's a psychic medium. She's a remote viewer, which is cool. Remote viewing is something that I did, and we just talked about it off the air. I did when I was working, learning at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, under Tom Brown Jr. She's a Reiki master. She's a shaman, and I love I think people who are shamans and study shamanistic methodology, I believe that they have more of an insight into earth energies. I really do. I think it's something that it's just they become more in tuned with it. And I know that when I was working in the shamanic fields, uh, I became more in tune with it, and that's going to be great. Also, she's a member of MUFON. She's a great photographer. Oh my God, I'm forever salivating over the places that she goes to, and the photographs. I can't talk now. The photographs that she takes. She works missing persons cases. I've worked a couple, and they are not easy to do. So I have so much admiration for Cheryl to do this, because it takes a lot of focus, and it takes a lot of patience in order to go and work with these people. She's appeared in Chris Halton's Haunted Earth and Haunting at Bachelor's Grove. And if anybody knows anything about Bachelor's Grove, that place is crazy haunted. Her books, now we're going to talk about Dimensions, Mysterious Triangles of the U.S. tonight. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. She has Whispers Beyond the Grave, Interrupted Journey, and she's got the trilogy, Fear of the Darkness, Edge of Darkness, Embrace the Darkness. She's been featured in the Paranormal Underground, iHeart Magazine, Mind, Body, and Spirit Guide. She's appeared in the film Rosalie, and she's featured in one of my favorite duos work, the Booth Brothers, The Attached. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, please welcome to the Black Cat Lounge, Cheryl Lynn Carter. Hey, Cheryl, how are you, man? I'm so good. Oh, man, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for coming on, because this is something that is unbelievable. I don't even know where to start, Cheryl, because of the fact that I've done the research on you. I've met you, and now you're here on the show. How can I even tell you? You know what? We're going to start at the beginning, Cheryl. Okay. Let's go, and as an introduction to my little crazy audience, how did you get involved in the field? And I'm just going to say, because you are so multifaceted, how can I describe it? How did you get in the field as in general?
Well, since I'm a medium, it was like born into me. But I would say probably 20 years ago is when I really started going places and investigating. Before that, like when you're a kid, you don't even know what's going on. We didn't have books back then. We didn't have television shows telling us what all this stuff is going around, so you kind of had to learn on your own. But then one day I just decided I want to start doing cemeteries and going to all these places and see what's going on.
You're as bad as me, because my story. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Lilydale Spiritualist Assembly, and I think once you get that hunger for adventure, and that's the way I'm going to say it.
It is.
A lot of people take what we do, and that's why, again, you're multifaceted. You're not content just being one thing.
Yeah.
You love being able to go and get out there, like myself, and that's why I call everything is such an adventure for us. It's amazing that you get a hunger, and it's so funny because we got people like us. We will go and just, I guess the best way to describe it is, we conquer one mountain and we see the next mountain, and it may be a different topic. It may be something that we've never experienced before, but yet we're so attracted, we're pulled to it. Is that how it is with you?
Yeah, because if I did the same thing all the time, like some people do, I would be so bored. I would.
Well, Cheryl, that's what killed me with the churches. Don't get me wrong. I love serving the churches. I really do. Dogma's a little tough for me. Anything organized where they're going to tell me yes or no, that's a little tough for me. But I guess, when you get your fill and you get to that point, that plateau where you decide for yourself, you know what? I've had enough. I'm satisfied right here. What's left?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, something opens up for you again, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's what I love about what we do.
Well,
And
and
that's what
you might go somewhere, and then all of a sudden something will happen that puts you to this other direction.
Cheryl, it's called the ball of shiny tinfoil
Yeah,
syndrome.
yeah, it
Oh,
does. I like
look,
shiny things. I know I like shiny things, and I have to chase them. Exactly.
exactly. I mean, honest to God, because that's my biggest fault because
Yeah.
I can't just be, you know, on one thing. And we were talking about writing books before the show, and I think my biggest problem with writing is the fact that I will get three-quarters of a book done and already start looking for what the next project will be.
I got 3 books going right now. Exactly. I know.
Oh my God. I don't feel so bad. I got two sitting there and it's like I had to take a break because I think my brains are starting to come out my ears. I wasn't
Well,
quite
I
sure.
can only do one at a time, so I have to set one aside while I'm working on another one. But I do have 3 of them started. One's almost done.
Now, tonight we're going to talk about your book and I want to show it to everybody while we're sitting here. Your book Dimensions. It's amazing. Mysterious Triangles of the US. And what is amazing to me, Cheryl, is the fact that, you know, growing up, we've all been, I guess, inundated and we all know any of us that grew up back at a certain time, because I'm older than you, Cheryl. So back even a little bit before your time, when there was the National Enquirer, and that was the thing. That was the newspaper. That was the supermarket rag that everybody bought. All our parents bought it, and we would just like. I know I would devour it. And the big thing always was Bermuda Triangle.
Mhm.
But there are you've discovered so many different triangles here in the United States. What constitutes a triangle? Why would we call it a triangle? Is it a shape? Is it an area that has multiple things going on? What is a triangle exactly?
Well, I asked somebody one time. I says, are all these areas really triangles? And they said somebody just calls them that so that we can have like an area on the map to look at. Because a couple of them are really more rectangles than triangles that I've noticed.
I have
It's
to.
just like
I
a visual for people to call them a
Right,
triangle.
right.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you there because there's a couple locations that I know of. They're more like rectangular and
Right. Like some of them in the
depending
book
location
are
wise.
more rectangular. Yeah.
So, but I mean, what happens in these triangles? This is what I found fascinating. What happens in these triangles?
Everything.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you and I are like a moth to a flame with these places because it's there's just not one thing that goes on.
No. And I couldn't believe when I was writing this, I wasn't even thinking about this at first. Everything has to do with UFOs too.
Yes.
Every
Yes.
one of them. Every one of them.
This is a big thing that okay, I want your opinion on this, Cheryl.
Mhm.
We have paranormal investigators, right? We have ufologists, right? We have crypto people, right?
Mhm.
We've got the shamanic people. We have we have Native American tribal mythology. We have urban legends. We have terrible crimes that go on.
Mhm.
Did you ever notice that all 7 of these little fingers, these little piggies of mine that are pointing up, did you ever notice that for the most part, they're all considered individuals
Mhm.
instead of and I'm going to show you my age by saying gestalting it, which is
I know.
like great outdated therapy
Mhm.
titles, but they're not all lumped together. People seem to attack this as individual subjects rather than look at it as a whole. Why do you think that is?
I know, but I don't know if you notice, like I go to different events, and if it's a paranormal event, they don't want to have anything to do with ufology.
Truth. That's very
And
true.
I find that so crazy. But if you go to a ufology event, they believe in the paranormal. I don't know why it's
Now, we've had a not too far away from here is Beach 6 of Presque Isle State Park in Presque Isle, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
In the 60s, they had an overlapping Bigfoot and UFO occurrence that happened there. It was big news.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yet nobody will go and put the two together. My investigation of the hill of Hinsdale House in the southern tier of Western New York has included all of these different facets of what we feel is, I won't say paranormal, but let's just say esoteric in nature. You have paranormal, you have ghost manifestations, you have crypto, you had UFOs, you have all this stuff that went on there. And yet people are so myopic. I often wonder why that is. I don't understand it. Uh, Now, UFO and crypto conferences, they're cool because they really,
They do. They
yeah, they
embrace it
really
all.
work together.
Yeah, they embrace it all. Exactly.
But paranormal, it's like they put horse blinders on and they don't know. Uh, do you feel that that you can even, if you think in that term, do you think that you can do a reasonable investigation? Because I don't personally.
No, because when you're investigating, who are you really talking to? You could be talking to a cryptid or an alien. You just think it's a spirit of a person. You don't know who you're talking to.
Exactly. And there are so many, and as a psychic medium, I'm a psychic medium. We know that there is no definitive proof of who we're talking to.
No.
And I remember, okay, I'm gonna go back a few years now, Cheryl. I'm gonna go back a few years. I had hair, but I was little, and
I've seen pictures, yeah.
yeah, and they weren't pretty, Cheryl. They definitely are not pretty. But do you remember back in the early days of the UFO movement, where all the aliens were blonde-haired Nordic-looking creatures that they were out there against the atomic bomb and the whole thing. And it's kind of funny now because I remember back then there was a little bit more of a paranormal connection between paranormal investigation and ufology. Then all of a sudden it just shattered, and I often wonder why that is. Here, let me throw this at you.
Is it because of all the TV shows now about
You got it.
Yeah.
This, Cheryl, this is why I love you so much, because the two of us think alike, because that's exactly it.
Okay.
But that's exactly it. People don't realize that. And Kelly has a question. Do you think, Cheryl, that Bigfoot comes from a UFO? That's a good question.
No, but I do think Bigfoot's interdimensional.
I do too. But also, let me ask you this, because I know I want to get to your book, but you're one of these people that are just, I have 1,001 questions I want to ask you. Like I told you, like I wrote to you, this is going to be, I'm excited to have you on the show. Do you feel that UFOs are nut and bolts, craft, or do you feel that they could be interdimensional, like they say in like here in New York State, the Hudson Valley is like a raceway for them, and they seem to appear and disappear, almost dissolve.
Yeah, like I said, just like Bigfoot, you see him, and all of a sudden, 2 steps later, he's gone. Well, he didn't run that fast. He went through some doorway, and I believe that's how crafts get here so fast. I saw the sky open one day, and I kid you not, the sky open, and this craft came out.
I believe
came right out. And it was hovering there for about 10 minutes. So it wasn't making any sound. Nobody's seeing it except me. I don't know. Maybe I was the only person supposed to see it. And then it went right back into the sky, and the sky just sealed up. Now, what the heck was that?
They see that all the time over Lake Ontario here in the Great Lakes. That's a huge thing. Especially they've seen it in a place called a little village called Olcott, New York, which is right on the lake, and people just park there and just watch the skies. That is amazing. So Anyway, let's get to your book before we get sidetracked again, because I'm just so thrilled to have you here. Now, in your book, Dimensions, I've got to ask you, you've covered so many great locations. I'm reading your book, and I'm going to be honest with you. I never read the table of contents because of the fact I don't want to like have to look. I'm one of those people that like, oh, I have to see what happens at the end.
Oh, no.
I'm one of those people. So I never read table of contents. So I'm reading and I'm going and I'm going, this is very interesting. This is great. This is great. All of a sudden you come to a place called Caldersport, Pennsylvania. Now, Caldersport, Pennsylvania is probably an hour and a half to 2 hours away from my house. I've
Lucky.
been down there several times. I've been down there looking for Bigfoot. I've been through the Allegheny National Reserve and the National Forest down there looking for Bigfoot. We've had all sorts of crazy experiences in that area. I was blown away. You hit on some things that I was shocked at. What was it that, and I know how the basic editing of a book goes. Do I keep this location in, or should I get rid of this location? What was it about Caldersport that really made you want to keep it in your book?
I just liked all the mysteries of the forest, because forests are always a mystery anyway.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it had, here you go, way back the native conditions, and then all the little cryptids that are there.
Well, there's a huge Native American belief in the little people down there,
Yeah,
and then you have the oh God, I can't think of the name of it. It's the body of a snake and the head of a man that's down in there off the
yeah.
Susquehanna River. I mean, it's an amazing place, and I got to tell you, Cheryl, when I was down there, there's this waterfall that a guy and his two sons went in, and it's about, I would say, probably a good 3/4 of a mile downhill to get to this waterfall, and it's fantastic. They camped there overnight, and what they saw scared the hell out of them, because they looked up and they saw a creature pacing back and forth.
Well,
And finally, the father said, "We're not going to stay here any longer." And when the creature left, they just left all their gear and went to the car. They said, "We'll get it in the morning." Now, I went down there, and I was one of the people that are silly enough to go down there, and it was dark out. And first of all, the coyotes just surround you. I mean, it's like, oh, hey, look at that bald guy. I bet he tastes like bacon. That's
lunch.
that's exactly what it was. And in our IR cameras, you could see all the eyes looking at you. But we were doing tree knocking, and we were getting stuff back, and there's nobody out there, and we're not that far away from Caldersport, so it's a crazy location. Now, one of the things that I was like amazed at was, and I have it right over here in my notes, in my other notes, there is something called a squonk. Did I say it properly?
Mm-hmm.
A squonk. It's a pig-like, saggy skin creature covered in wart. Oh, you got a picture of it. Look at that.
Can we see it? Where are we? Where's the camera?
That's amazing. See, everybody. That's what it looks
There
like.
he is.
There we go. Let me just zoom
There.
in right in there. There you go. That's what it looks like. Isn't that amazing? And what's neat about it is I love the drawing because of the fact that it shows tears, and it's supposed to dissipate. It's supposed to melt away in its own tears. That's got to be one of the.
So sad. It's so ugly that it's so sad, and it cries all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that. I love the mythology of that area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's also a lot of Susquehanna down there, mythology and witchcraft in that area, and they see witch lights all the time, which are like the bright orbs that are kind of floating around, and they're forever hearing voices and drumming and that sort of thing in that area in Caldersport. So that to me is one of those just fascinating places. Now, a place that I never went to, but now, Cheryl, it's on my bucket list. Thank you very much. My wife thanks you, because now I'm going to be packing a picnic lunch and she's going to have to come with me. Is Austin, Pennsylvania. Can you tell everybody about what happened in Austin, Pennsylvania?
Well, it was this little lumber town, and again, they decided they're gonna,
There it is.
they're gonna build a dam. Okay, well, the thing is, the guy was a city guy, and he's gonna build this dam, but he's kind of cutting corners. He's gonna cut corners. There he is here.
Oh, I never saw a picture of him.
Yeah.
Is that Bayless?
That's Bayless. So he's kind of going to cut corners, and they says, well, we got to do this to this. We got to add this kind of cement. We got to add the rebars in there and all this. He goes, oh, you don't need this many. They said, well, if you want it to be sturdy, no, well, we don't need them. Just put so many here. And then it was getting close to winter, and everybody's getting after him. Is this going to be done soon? And he goes, yeah. And they go, well, we still got to do this. He goes, no, finish. We need to finish by this date. So they finished it. And he had told the whole town, don't worry, this is the dam that can never break. He always called it the dam that could never break. So
that
now,
is one.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Here's this nice lady. Her name's Cora Wells. Most of the decent women didn't talk about Cora Wells unless they were talking about the lady that lived up on top of the hill and had a lot of male visitors. There's her house.
Oh, these are great photos, because I've never seen any of those.
I should have put these in. I should still put stuff in my book. I don't have pictures in my book. But she lived up on top of the hill by the dam. So there was also a train that would go through up there all the time. And people started noticing that there was a stranger in town. He's wearing all black coat, black hat. And he'd jump on the train and he'd just sit there. He wouldn't look at anybody. He looked straight ahead. And he's kind of scary. So nobody ever wanted to talk to him. They just ignored him. And he'd be riding that train every day. They don't know where he was going, but he was always riding the train. Or sometimes they'd see him running in between the box cars. Or other times he'd be running across the top of the box cars. They didn't know who this stranger was. They didn't know who he was. I just wish somebody would have talked to him. Because one day, Cora's sitting up on her rocking chair on the front porch, and she heard a creaking sound. The dam broke. The water started coming down through the valley. This is the valley that they're in. And she got a hold of people in the town, and she says, get to high ground, the dam's breaking. And they had so many false alarms before, nobody wanted to listen. She goes, no, I'm telling you. And so she got everybody to safety. Yeah, I got a picture of that. Yeah, look at that. That's what happened. That's what left of the town. But nobody died because she got them all out in safety. So after that day, when they said her name, they said, she's the lady that saved our town.
And here's a picture of the dam now. This is what's left of the dam is still there. And you can see how
see the crack. See the crack, yeah.
Now this area here in Pennsylvania is the second worst dam break in Pennsylvania history. Of course, the first time was the Johnstown flood, of course, and it's very similar, very, very similar, unfortunately, to what happened here.
And it's the worst one in the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
And now Bayless had a paper and pulp mill there, and it was destroyed pretty well. This is a photo I skyped off the internet of what's left of his.
Everything got destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what was coming down in this rush of water. There were logs, big trees coming down. It wasn't just water.
It's an amazing story. But you know what else I found was fascinating was some locations are hard luck locations. Now, I always say that some houses are houses that are meant to be haunted for one reason or another. They're just bad houses. They're just bad locations or whatever. And Austin, in 1889, the valley flooded, of course, and caused damage.
That's why they built this wonderful dam. Yeah.
Then in 1890, a fire destroyed part of the town. In 1891, there was a boarding house fire. In 1894, there was another flood. In 1897, and there was a massive fire there. It was amazing. And in 1910, the rains caused water to bypass the dam, which means it went around the actual structure, and that weakened the dam just enough to start breaking it. And plus, on top of it, subpar concrete. It's an amazing thing. Why do you feel that some places are bad like that? Do you feel that there's an energy? As a shaman, I know that you read energy. I know that there are places that you go that you can just walk in and you can feel that we call it just natural awareness. You can feel that awareness of something that is just not right, whether it's negative ley
Exactly.
lines or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you think that
Yeah.
that Austin is such a place?
It has to be. Look at all the disasters there.
Now, do you
It
think
has
that
to be.
now let's get back to the Man in Black, which I'm reading your book. I never expected to see that. Now
Mm.
we all know about the Men in Black from at Point Pleasant with the Mothman cases and that sort of thing. Do you think that there may be some kind of psychic correlation between let's say the Mothman of Point Pleasant and the Mothman, or I should say the Man in Black at Point Pleasant and the Man in Black, that may be a harbinger of something that may be going on?
I think so because he was trying to tell them something. I just think if somebody would have talked to this man, you know, was he is he a man from the future? Is it an alien? What somebody already saw what was going to happen, and we're trying to tell you.
Now they saw him walking along the tracks. They saw
He
him
was riding in the train
in
too.
the train. They had him jumping between cars. They had him on the roof of the cars.
Yeah,
This is something that is you would not have seen that in the 1800s and early 1900s.
yeah,
That is something that would not have happened. And the fact that he is dressed in black is almost a direct correlation to the Men in Black, which
yeah,
I believe. And now you hit something that I often wonder is time dimensions, and
yeah,
is time interdimensional, and could people come and go? Could this guy have been someone from the future, or could he have been someone from the past coming into Point Pleasant to go and warn them? It's almost impossible to figure that out.
yeah. Because what was it? 20 years in between, so it happened way before Point
Right,
Pleasant.
right. That to me is amazing. Now, also, now you also hit something that I was shocked at, which we've had a terrible train accident up here, and it's called the Angola, New York horror, where a train went off the tracks and it went down through a ravine, and the cars all caught fire because they're all lacquered, and there were coal burning stoves in there in December trying to keep
Wow.
the place warm. Now Moore's Run, which I was kind of interested in, they had a terrible forest fire, and anybody that's ever been down in that area knows how forested this place is. You have they call it the Forbidden Lands, which is the Black Forest, and they called it that because of the fact that it was so thick with ancient trees that it was black. The sun couldn't penetrate it.
Mm.
Now today, because of logging and because of all the forest fires in that area over the many 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 decades, you don't see that. There's a couple old growth trees there now, and that's it. But there was a terrible fire. These guys were out there trying to go and fight the fire, and they were digging a relief trench so the fire wouldn't jump across it. And it got so bad that they had to retreat. So they jumped on a train, and the fire was catching up behind them, and the fire was in front of them. And of course, they went right into it. And there were a number of deaths and injuries. But they say that that you can still hear them screaming and
Yeah,
crying in that
yeah.
area. I gotta tell you, I know where it is. and
Oh,
I know where the old train tracks are. I've stood on those
yeah,
old
I
train
would want
tracks,
to go there.
and if you go into the forest itself, you can still actually see burn marks. You can see the scorch marks on the earth and some of the stone outcroppings. There's still scorch marks there, but just like at the Angola horror, you can still hear. They say you can still hear the screaming of people as they burnt to death there. Do you think that that might be residual in nature, or do you think that may be intelligent?
Could be a little of either because some people probably don't know they're dead. They could still
I
be
never
out.
thought of that. There,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I actually went. There's a place in Ohio, Poasttown Elementary, and
Oh
there
my
was a
God, yeah.
there was a big train accident there at one time, and I went down, but nobody wanted to go by the railroad tracks. They said, "Ah, we're going in the building." I said, "Yeah, but something happened out here." And yeah, I got so many EVPs. I went over by the train tracks, and I just said, "I'm a nurse. Can I help you? I heard there was a train wreck. Does anybody need help?" And they were intelligent responses talking to me.
I find that there's a place in Ripley, New York, same way. And they actually behind the old Ripley Hotel, they actually they laid the bodies along the tracks.
Yeah, well, that's what they did. Where the
Yeah,
school is where they would have laid the bodies. The school wasn't there at the time, so I think some of the spirits in the school are from the train.
I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that because you have to always look for a power source. You
Mm.
have to look for a reason of a haunting, and I don't. And that's where a lot of people kind of I think they drop the ball on investigations instead of just looking at the obvious. You know yourself, Cheryl. People are always like looking, trying to. They want that thrill factor, the oh wow factor, the EVP. It's like, oh my god, they want to be f bombed by a ghost or something. That's their big, that's their big goal in life. And
Never had that
us,
happen to me.
oh my god, if I had a quarter, Cheryl, I'd be taking you for a haunted vacation someplace because of the fact that be like, seriously, I've gotten a lot of them, but.
except in the closet at Madison Seminary, they were calling me bad things, but
Well, Madison Seminary, that was a Civil War hospital too.
yeah,
So I
I know.
mean, there's a lot more to that one than I think
I won't even tell you
we
what they're
know.
calling me yet.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's a GP show, but it's not. But any but anyway, there has to be a power source, and we're always looking for a
Right.
power source. That's what I think people don't get. You have to look for what is causing this location. Why is this thing active? And as a shaman, you learn to read that energy. You learn to look for that energy, and then as a medium, you reinterpret it. You try to
Mhm.
contact it or see if it's just residual or not, or is it a
Mhm.
recording or whatever. And I think people miss that. I think that's the biggest in this investigations in our investigation. What's one of the biggest gripes that you have?
Well, like you said, they come in with preconceived notions of this is what the place is about. This is what I'm going to find. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I go to investigate somewhere, there's a spirit that starts talking to me 3 days before I get there.
Right.
They're telling me their story. They're telling me exactly where they are. They want to talk to me when I get there. And one time I went to this. I was at the Twin City Opera House, and this woman was looking for her little girl, and I see fire all around them. And I go, okay. So I asked the tour guide when we got there about this. He goes, there was no fire here. I said, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty 99% right, And I said, no, I think there was a fire. No, no, no. And so then I'm walking around looking, where's this woman? And we get by the auditorium and she's standing by the stage and there's fire all
Yep.
around her. And I said,
Yep.
what is going on? And I still couldn't figure out what was going on. So then when we were leaving, there was somebody else standing outside and I was telling him about it. And he goes, I said, well, the guy said there's no fire here. I said, I saw fire everywhere. And he said, oh, he goes, years ago before this place was ever here. He goes, the town, everything was made of wood. The boardwalks were all wood and the whole town
Mm-hmm.
burned down. There you go. I'm trying to help him with his history so when he does tours, he can tell people, and he don't want anything to do with that.
I believe me, I know exactly how it
Yeah,
is.
so that's what frustrates me.
It's
Don't
tough.
be so narrow-minded.
That's the biggest problem. We're going to take a real quick break to pay a couple bills. You're listening to the Black Cat Lounge here, where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. We'll be right back. The Black Cat Lounge is brought to you by Paranormal Oddities, the little store with the big heart. Patronus Photographic, fine art, photography, and design. Nancy's Sewing Room, aprons, masks, and handmade purses. And Wild Raven, hand-poured candles for those magical times. And welcome back to the Black Cat Lounge. Our guest tonight is the fabulous Cheryl Lynn Carter. We're talking about dimensions. We're talking about paranormal investigations. We're talking about locations. We're talking about ufology. You're talking about Bigfoot. You name it, we're talking. Cheryl, welcome back. I almost ran out of wind on that.
I had to turn a light on. The sun must be going down.
Tis the season. Tis the season now. We're almost at that point where most of us that are pretty white, like this kid, is actually going to get a little sun, I hope. Now, I just thought of it. I forgot to tell you. I have about a 16-inch, 17-inch Bigfoot cast that was found just above Calder's Point.
Wow.
It was just, and the guy that I found there that actually cast it told me that it was on an old logging trail, but it was very, very close to the interstate. He goes, so he was really kind of shocked that it was that close to the interstate. And I said to him, I said, well, why not? If you're animals will go and follow the path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think, that something of this nature wouldn't go and follow, let's say, along a railroad, line spike. If I can deliver, I can't even say a rail line,
just like deer. Yeah,
yeah,
like deer.
exactly. This is what is so cool about stuff like that. Now, I want to ask you about Michigan, the Michigan Triangle. Now, I was shocked. I've actually gotten, we talked about how I got lost in this one area and ended up along this one location that is not really too savory to go into, but it's amazing how many ships, airplanes have been lost in that area. I had no idea. And here's a picture of the this is what we're talking about, the Michigan Triangle right there. And why do you think that so many ships and airplanes have disappeared there? But also, I've heard that there's people that have disappeared. Well,
I was going to say that. Well, I mean, there could be, there could be bad storms, there could be bad visibility. I mean, that some of, account for some of that. But the other things like to have all the people disappear off of a ship, that's not from a bad storm. Right. Especially there's one. What was the ship here? The O.M. McFarland. So, Captain George Donner was the captain of this ship, and they were going through this one passage that was called the Three Sisters, and it's got like 3 waves you have to be careful going through, and they just got through it. Everything's safe. He says, all right. He says, I'm going to go to my cabin for a while, and then you guys call me when we get close to shore. So he goes to his cabin, locks the door, goes to sleep. So they're almost to land. They go to knock on his door. He's not answering. So they break into his cabin, and he was gone. He was just gone.
This amazes me. This is something that ufologists have been dealing for years. They don't people don't realize that there are so many cases out there, unsolved cold cases, where people have just disappeared, where windows are locked, doors are bolted, and there's nobody there, and there's no other way to get out. Now, I often wonder, is it the energy of the area that may attract maybe for
Mm,
we'll just say, for a lack of a better term, a UFO
mm.
that may be abducting or taking these people and leaving no trace behind? Do you think that there's a specific energy that will attract this type of phenomena?
I just think it's the magnetic. There could be ley lines in places. There could be just stuff from under the ground, and just there's portals that open it all the time.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And Bill Randall from the USS Edson, welcome aboard, sir. There are several Navy fighter planes laying at the bottom of Lake Michigan.
Yes,
And
yes.
Jeffrey Donaldson has talked about a plane. I had just put up a plane in the 1950s that was lost
Lots of
in,
them.
and that was kind of unique because if I'm not mistaken, uh, well, here's the monument actually to the Northwest Flight 2501 that
Mm.
was lost, and they have no idea what happened there. It was a routine flight, everything was going
Yeah,
well, and there's nothing. And Lake Michigan is not that deep. It's not like Ontario that is, extremely deep.
right. Because you could have found the ship or the plane, but it's not there.
Exactly, exactly. And we see that often, not just like in, the ones that are off of Malamar and all that, because they have found pieces of debris, but
Mm.
they found no debris, no bodies, nothing. It's
Right.
almost as if the plane either landed and became submerged or was taken out of the area. And I
Or went through a portal that opened.
right, right. And if that's the case, do you think that someday all these people, and this is in the realm of science fiction,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
a good science fiction writer always brings this out at the end. Do you think that these people will come back at some time through the interdimensional portal, or do you think that perhaps that they just went into the
I
ethers?
don't know. And if they came back, would they be the same young age, or would they have aged, or what? Yeah, would they
If
be the same? Yeah.
if time is linear and the time is a dimension, there may be a good cause or a good case that they may not have aged at all.
Right.
That to me is what's fascinating. See, you know what? This is, Cheryl, this is what keeps me up at night. I sit there and I think about this
Me
stuff
too.
and I go, oh my God, I should be sleeping, but I can't because it's so fantastic. Our guest tonight is Cheryl Lynn Carter, and she is the author of a mind blowing, mind expanding book called Dimensions and Triangles here in the United States. And now Bridgewater, I was up at Bridgewater when I was a kid. And I remember later on, I know some people that researched it. I know people that have hiked it. And I know that it's not I don't know how it is now, but I knew for a long time that it wasn't a real savory area. It was a mob drop off, meaning they would drop
Mm.
bodies off. It was an execution area. But do you think that the curse from the King Philip's War, do you think that had anything to do with it, or do you think that perhaps? And when I say curse, I believe in focused energy and
Mhm.
intent in an area. Do
Right.
you think that affected the energy, or do you think that perhaps you've got something else coming down there? Because that's another place like Caldersport that has a plethora of crypto. You've got Thunderbirds being seen there, Bigfoot being seen there, UFOs being seen there. You have women in white being seen there. Now somebody told me about a man in black there too. Do you think that energy is what causes this to uh, attract all of this phenomena?
Well, that's why I said there's some kind of energy in certain places that it does attract all these things, because you will see them in these certain places. Even this new book I'm writing, it's like all these things are coming to this place too.
That that again, that's weird because I shouldn't say weird because there's
That
nothing there's nothing weird, there's nothing natural or nothing supernatural. Everything's natural. There's nothing paranormal. Everything is normal.
it's just where do the missing people go?
Well, that's it. I mean, this is what really always just like really, I guess, unnerves me, because I mean paranormal, or I shouldn't say paranormal, but ghosts and apparitions and that sort of stuff, that doesn't bother me because I've done it for so long, and I was brought up in the spiritualist faith. All the different possession cases, like, when it comes to ancestral possession, the hoodoo and voodoo, they use that. I don't, to me, I mean, I've been at ceremonies. It doesn't bother me because it's natural. It's just something that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
But to have person after person after person disappear and have all these broad ranging searches and find nothing.
Right.
No trace. I mean, absolutely no trace, nothing. And you would think by now, even in a place like Bridgewater, now I know there's a big area that, it's awful hard to search a big area because we've had people,
Sure.
disappear in the Allegheny Reserve and never be found. But you would think by now you would start stumbling across a body here or a body there, or
Mm-hmm.
especially with the amount of people that have been disappearing. And same thing with the Michigan Triangle. You would expect something to wash up. You would expect something to appear when there's nothing,
Mm-hmm.
nothing at all. And I don't.
The people in Bridgewater, though, the one guy again, it was a soldier. He was riding a bus,
Right.
and they turned around and looked over his seat, and he was just gone. He wasn't
That
walking anywhere. He was on the bus with them.
that to me is fascinating, because those who disappear within a circle of people,
Yes.
and there's no way that this person could hide underneath the seat. Of course, I've seen underneath seats in buses, so you don't want to look underneath there. But it's rolling, doors are shut. There's no way somebody can get out. There's
Well,
no way.
his luggage was still there.
Yeah,
He was just gone. His luggage was there, so he didn't leave.
this what happens and why. And I often wonder why they're chosen. Do you think
Right.
there's a greater conspiracy involved with this, within, like, now he was a serviceman. I don't know his background. I know the story, but I never looked in to see what he did in the service. What
That's
was
true.
his
Yeah.
job?
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think sometimes there's a larger conspiracy involved with this, where maybe there's, this person had expiration date and disappeared because of it, or perhaps it's some kind of crazy experiment? What's your opinion on that? Because people ask me about conspiracy theories, and I'm not a person that really embraces most of them. But when it comes to this, I don't have an answer, because they're here and they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people that are missing, yeah, they might have some important job in the government, or they're doing some projects. You could say, that's why they're taken. But when it's a college girl, like that was going down the trail, that one, just a college girl. I mean, she
Right,
was nothing to have anything important. And people saw her go around the bend, and she was just right in front of them. When they came around the bend, she was just gone, just
right,
gone.
right. This is what I don't understand it. I could understand human abductions. I could understand someone who doesn't want to be found again, but these are mostly just
Sure,
normal people that it just happens to. Here's a question for you, Cheryl, because we're running out of time, and I want your opinion on this one. Do you think that some people are predetermined, number one, to attract that energy, to be predetermined to be contacted by something or someone that may be, you know, and, for a better word, lack of a better word, an alien presence? And do you think that these contactees, these experiencers, after that experience, are more prone to have phenomena happen to them, or they become more sensitive of something that all around them, the energy
I
around
think
them?
people are predetermined. Yes, and you like when I saw mine, yeah, and that's you now you're attracting whatever it is you're attracting more and more.
Do you think that we're born with it, or do you think that or do you think this energy comes along because we are exposed to something, we are experienced in some facet of that, some facet that something would be interested in us? Do you think that is naturally born with us, or conditioned into us?
That could be, but I mean, I know somebody that was abducted twice, and he was just a teenager, so he wasn't experimenting on anything
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
Was he predetermined? Maybe.
All I know is if I was abducted as a teenager, I hope they wouldn't do a blood test on me. That's all I care about. That's all I got to say right
The
now.
crazy thing is he's got a young son now, and his son was he last time I saw him, his son showed him a picture that he drew. Scary. He says, when I go to sleep at night, the people with the chandeliers are outside my window, and he drew like a
Wow.
ship, and it was like light coming down. He said it was a chandelier, and they were outside the window coming from the sun.
Wow.
And so he says, I asked them, why are you coming for my son? Because I guess he must still communicate. Why are you coming for my son? You used to come to me. And they said, because he has a young mind and you're too busy doing other things now. So that's scary how now I'm going to
That
take
is
your whole family too.
that is very scary.
You
One
know.
last question, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
ITC technology.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's using the scanner boxes. Everybody knows Frank Summation, I believe, originally was trying to go and get some kind of communication with something beyond our planet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that ITC is as effective as it's being touted now?
It depends what people's using. If you're gonna go investigating, and this is you're gonna use this radio all night, and this is just gonna be your means of evidence, you're missing out on stuff. Okay, but
I agree.
you want to get your recorder out there to get the true.
Do you think that we'll be ever that may be a road to contacting a UFO, or some kind of an alien entity that we'd be able, intelligent entity that we can actually get a two-way communication with? Or do you think?
Probably,
Do you think
because who knows what kind of signals are coming through? I believe we could. Yeah.
that's fair enough? Fair enough. That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah, I believe we could.
You know what that means? Well, next time I'm in the Allegheny Reserve, I'll be taking the battery operated ones out with me. Now, Cheryl, tell everybody how they can get your fabulous book. Really, I got to tell people that this is a mind blowing book that just it really makes you think. People, a lot of books just are presented out there as just a fact, as a story. Cheryl really weaves a great tale, and it will leave you wanting more. And for you guys that want more, does this we may be renting a bus and going? Well, I'm going down the Calder's Port anyway. That's on my bucket list for this year.
I got more books coming. That's going to make you want more too. So
That's fantastic. So how can they get your book?
You can go to Amazon.com, or if you want a signed copy, I have some here.
That's
You can
awesome.
just get me on Facebook.
Awesome. Everybody's enjoying this tonight. I really thank you. And I want to go, and I just want to ask you to hold on for a couple minutes. I'll thank you off the air for coming on tonight. And I'm just going to say goodbye to my audience. And Cheryl, I got to tell you what, this was I've been looking forward to this ever since you said you would come on the show. So I am like so thrilled that you came on, and this was even better than I had hoped. So I thank you for just hanging out with us tonight. This was this was a fun night. So hold on, Cheryl, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Black Cat Lounge. You're here with me, Tim Shaw, and I want to go out there and just ask everybody to send some healing prayers to a friend of mine who has contracted COVID. He's on the mend, but it's going to take him a little while to get back to where he is. So send it out there, and I really hope everybody had a great time tonight. And this is Tim Shaw. Take care, my friends, and we shall see you soon next week, Tuesday. Bye-bye.